How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? We will kick off this very special episode of NAISB where we will be talking with all 10 head coaches in the World Series this year. We're going to start off with Cumberland's Patriots head coach Bailey Dillender. But before we talk, the coach Dillender, want to remind you that you can catch every pitch, every play, every moment of the 2025 NAIA Softball World Series on urbanedgenetwork.net. You can go there, or you can download their app that will be in the description on this YouTube episode. Coach, how are we doing? I'll kick it over to you. The number one overall seed. Get to rest. Y'all, you get to just watch softball on Thursday. It's the first time you get to do that. But it's your third straight year in the World Series. Just kick it over to you for an opening statement, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, we practiced today and I found myself, just having one of those moments and I'm like, you know what? It's freaking cool. It's just an amazing opportunity. It's humbling. I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, we're one of 10 teams that still have the opportunity to practice, right? We didn't have to go to practice. We got to go to practice today. And so that was kind of the conversation that we had with the team today is just how cool is it that our season came together the way it has, and just that we have the opportunity to compete, a little bit longer together, and just another opportunity to bring home our first red banner. So it's just cool. No matter how many times you do it, no matter what style you do it in. I mean, obviously it was a walk-off and extra innings this year. It was, it's always a different story, but when you get to this point and when you get this opportunity, I just think it's special and it's just a very humbling thing for me. So I know for myself, for our team, we're just excited to have the opportunity to go back to Columbus and another opportunity to compete, together.
Well, Coach, you've been playing some really good softball. The Pats have rattled off 27 wins in their last 28 games heading into Columbus. Talk to us about what specific improvements your team has made over these last couple of months to be playing some really good softball right now.
Yeah, I think it's a testament, to the schedule that we played early. I think it was I mean, we went and played a hard schedule and got punched in the face a few times and lost some games and whatnot. But I think, the story of this group has just been our resilience. It's been, trusting our process. I always tell them we have to trust our process. We have to trust each other, and for me, I have to trust my staff and the people I've surrounded myself with. And I think when you look at what we've done, March and April, even front end here of May, it was just us trusting our process. It'd have been really easy. And I'll be honest with you, there for a couple weeks in late February, early March, like we were going through it. And just from a perspective of, confidence and belief and trusting those things, like there's some losses and some games in there that you're like, holy crap, we've got to figure some stuff out. And I feel like we did that. And I feel like, one of the biggest factors has just been our experience. We're a pretty old group. We're wise. We've been through it, but just seeing us just continue to know where we were headed and where we wanted to go and not getting so caught up in those moments or those days that maybe a game got away from us or we dropped one or whatever. We just kept pushing through. I feel like we came together well. I feel like there were certain people within our pitching staff, throughout the lineup that just really got going, and then it kind of made it all cylinders run together, so it was a lot and it took everybody, but I just think just our resilience and our grit, just to keep going and to trust our process, has put us in the position that we're in for sure.
Well, Coach, speaking on that experience, third straight year, Cumberland's is competing in the World Series down in Columbus. Can you speak on building the standard and with so many seniors? Like I said, you're an old group, a wise group, as you say, that have competed on this stage. Talk about how they want to cap their legacy off with bringing that red banner back to Williamsburg.
Yeah, I mean, the standard what expectation, I don't know, call it whatever you want to. We're just trying, one, to keep up with the other teams on our campus. Like, if you're not at the final site, no matter what sport you are at Cumberland's, like you're you're behind, like you're not doing your job. So I mean, I think that's the one most important thing is that we're so fortunate and blessed at Cumberland's to be funded and to be supported by our administration in the way that we are. From just the softball, from, the program that we've built together, me, Rich, and Maya here in the last couple of years, like it's what we want. Like It's what drives us is competing and recruiting high level athletes and producing, you know, wins and conference championships and regional like that's what they hired me for in 2017, and there was a couple years during that process as we were building this that I truly had to look in the mirror at the end of the season and be like, man, is this the wrong process? Have I put together the wrong pieces? Like, what am I doing wrong? But ultimately, especially in 21 and 22, when I had those self-evaluations and when I had to look in the mirror, in those couple of years, like I just kept telling myself, this is right. I mean, we have the culture. We have kids who love being Pats and who love competing, and we just hadn't really busted through. And it was almost like in 23 in that first World Series group, it was like once we busted through, now we really do have an understanding of what the expectation is, of what the standard is, and so while that was the hardest part was busting through, I feel like the newest challenge, I mean, I remember in February, I mean, you said it like this is the worst team that Cumberland's has had in the last couple of years. And maybe it was true in February, right? But we also, with winning and with accomplishing so much, because it's a new expectation and it's new struggles and challenges. And so that was the one thing that this group really had to learn fast and almost the hard way is like they couldn't understand why when people beat us, they celebrated so much. And I'm like, that's what you
What?
all wanted, right? Like it's a big deal when people beat you, and you have
Yeah.
to appreciate that, and you have to respect the game, and you have to know that all of a sudden you aren't the team chasing those people and trying to knock them off. You're the team everybody wants to knock off, and so
Yep.
that's a whole different layer of expectation and standard. And that's kind of, I would say that, would be the one area this year that we really had to learn the hard way of what it meant. And it comes with a ton of responsibility, whether it's on my plate as the head coach or whether it's on our student athletes' plates, is they have to understand what comes with that territory, and it's a badge of honor, but it's hard, and so that's I guess the short end of what it now means to be a Pat, because me and Rich are probably the only two. Maybe a little bit of Lindsay Shope and Carly Oliver was a red shirt, the last time that we were upset and kind of missed postseason. And so I think those guys still have a little taste of it. And I think it's that experience for them that's continuing to drive, some of that grit that we have. But I think overall it's just Rich and I really sticking true to our roots and, kind of who we've become and not forgetting what we had to go through to get to where we are, for sure.
I don't want to take too much credit, but I say that about the Pats this year. Y'all rattle off the winning streak. We start in 23. Y'all made the World Series every year we've been a part of. So I don't know, maybe a correlation there. No, obviously, Coach, you built up a great program, and one of the names you just mentioned there, and there's plenty we could point out in your lineup, but your All-American second baseman, Carly Oliver, having another phenomenal year to cap off her career in Williamsburg. Done it well at the bat. Obviously, one of the best defensive middle infielders coming into Columbus with a .995 fielding percentage. Talk to us about what she means to Patriot softball and who else in your lineup is playing some really good softball heading into Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, Carly's just she's a culture kid and she's a hard worker and she just puts her nose down. I mean, the kid has a week, 8 days, 9 days, whatever she has left in her career, and she beat me to work today. She's in the cages. Like that's Carly, and the reason that she's had the success and the reason that she's putting up and has put up these numbers is because she's a worker. She's relentless. I mean, there's days I have to kick her out of the cage because I'm like, dude, you're like 30 years old at this point. Your body's breaking down. Like at some point, you just got to listen to your body and take a day off. I mean, I'm sure you were watching this past weekend, but she goes to
Yeah.
round third in like the fifth inning of our championship game and gets a cramp. And everybody's like freaking out. They think like she's pulled a hammy or hurt herself real bad. And I'm like, no, she's just old and she didn't drink enough electrolytes before the game started and cramped up on us. So no, she's a super kid. She's one of those kids that you just love coaching, not necessarily because you have as much to pour into her as she's poured into me and to our program. And then you go down the line. I mean, Lindsay Shope, she's one of my favorite stories to tell.
Yep.
That kid in 23 was sitting and being the greatest cheerleader and waiting her turn behind Katie White and Tally Burgess and Morgan Radford, and she wasn't complaining. I mean, there were days where it hurt her pride and it hurt her feelings that she wasn't getting more opportunities, but she came in every day and she showed up for her bullpens and she committed to continuing to develop and work on her stuff. And last year she was throwing innings, and then Morgan Radford gets hurt early, and she turns into our number two and rattles off an 18-win season. I mean, she actually beat Tally Burgess over the weekend for a career or single season wins record, and
Wow.
you just look at people like that, like those two, and then you can't talk about grit and toughness without talking about Bailey Turnbow, who at least once a game is going to pop her shoulder out of place, and she's going to call time, and she's going to go pop it back in place, and then she's going to step back in the box and just give you a tough, gritty at bat. So people like her toughness and what she means just to our grit and our overall identity, I just feel like it's sometimes understated and maybe missed a little bit. And then you add some incredible, crazy, freakish athletes like the Gainers. I could go all the way down the list, 1 to 23, on how each one of them individually impact our program. But I think those 4 or 5 kids are just so much the heartbeat and the grit and the determination, of who we've become and what we are right now. And you look for them. I mean, Carly and Bailey and Lindsay have been to 3 World Series in a row. The Gainers, this is going to be their second trip in a row. So while I wish I could tell you there won't be any nerves when we play on Friday because, oh, we're the number 1 seed and everybody, whatever, like it'll still be it'll still be nerves. It'll still be hard, and it will still be the big stage and where we all want to be. And I think that's the biggest key for all of us, 1 through 10, is who settles in and plays their game the fastest and can just do what's got them there instead of letting those big, the big bright lights and the big stage, and those moments be a little bit big. So I'm hopeful, that our experience and some of these kids who have been here before will be able to settle in as, ASAP. Hopefully before the first pitch. Maybe it takes us a couple pitches, but I just hope that those kids rely on their experience and knowing that they've been on this stage before and they've competed at this, at this level and can settle in and just have a great week, and whatever happens, happens.
Well, I think that's the biggest advantage of being the number 1 or number 2 overall seed. You can go there on Thursday and watch 1 to 4 of those games and kind of get that feel of what it looks like. And got some great ones on Thursday. You await the winner of Grandview and Midland. But Coach, turning to the circle, we talked about Lindsay, who has pitched and been on the stage there at Columbus. You bring in another pitcher to complement her, and Jessica Cord. They have made a formidable 1-2 punch for you in the circle. Can you talk to us about how those two complement each other and what their keys will be for having success this week?
Yeah, sure. They're polar opposites. They're very different. They're looking at different quadrants of the plate. They're attacking hitters in different ways. And we started this thing off with how'd you win 27 to 28? Well, somewhere in that range is when Jess really found a groove, and Jess really started filling up the zone and giving us huge quality starts, whether that's game 1 or game 2, it didn't matter. I feel like she really kind of turned the page for us and kind of came into her own in Gulf Shores the week after, or week and a half, whatever it was, after the NAIA softball invite. And Cord goes down there and gets wins against Southeastern and against LSUA that weekend, and then she kind of found the confidence we'd been waiting for her to find and really started, carrying the back end of the load. Lindsay was carrying the first game, Jess was carrying the second, but when she kind of found her rhythm and started really commanding the zone from the circle for us, is when, I mean, if you looked at numbers and you looked on paper, when it kind of turned for us, it was when we were getting quality starts in both games of the day, and we were, playing high level competition, and both of them were holding their own and competing at a really high level. So Jess has been great. She was exactly what we needed. She was, we specifically recruited her because she was different than Lindsay, because her velo is a little higher, because she does command pitches a little bit differently in zones. And so both of them, I feel like they complement each other incredibly well. And I'm hopeful and look for Jess to have a great week for us, and without a doubt will throw important innings for us next week if we're going to make a run.
Well, Coach, just looking at what you were just talking about, Gulf Shores and the NAISB invite, one of six teams in Columbus that competed in Shawnee this past February, and could be a potential rematch for you if Grandview beats Midland. That's who y'all would face. And y'all's first game also had Southern Oregon out in Shawnee, who's the number 3 overall seed. How the early competition, both in Gulf Shores and Shawnee, prepare the Pats for what's about to be a gauntlet, which it is in Columbus?
Well, I can't speak a lot for Grandview because, as you know, I actually didn't get to coach that game. I was just
A little bit of an early exit in that one, Coach.
um, yeah, so hopefully, if we find ourselves matched up against them, I'll get to hang out with Lou a little bit longer this time. He's just a class act, a superhuman. I remember meeting him for the first time in 2019, I think it was. I was a site supervisor over at Lindsey Wilson, and his Grandview team was down there playing their tails off. So, anyways, hopefully I get to hang out a little bit longer for that, but as far as the NAIA softball invite goes, I mean, that's what you wanted, right? Like that was the whole idea. Like that was the whole goal of creating an early season tournament like you have, was to see World Series caliber teams there, and I remember you and I had some conversations in February. I don't remember who it was that Coach Pistole said this to, but she made a comment, or one of my parents heard her say, like, this team's going to be at the World Series, this team, and so it's early, and yeah, I mean, some of us were in a better position than others, but I thought that was the goal. And that's what, me and other coaches in our coaches convention and in our coaches meetings, like we've been begging for something like this for, I've been back in the NAI for 8 years, and it's good for our game. I mean, we're talking about 5 million views on social media last week for NAI softball. Like those are the things our kids deserve, right? That's not for me or for any of us other coaches. That's for our student athletes who play such a high level of softball and deserve the coverage and the recognition, and the platform that you all have started to create for NAIA softball. So it's a testament, but it was the expectation. That was the goal. That's what we were hoping to accomplish. So hopefully, I mean, I would say if I were sitting on the other side of this computer in your shoes, you'd feel pretty good that 6 of, the 10 World Series final site teams were there in February. And I'm assuming that the goal is, can we get 8 or 9? Like, can we get to a point where all 10 of the final site World Series teams were also playing each other in February? Because it's not only good for your brand, it's not only good for our brand of NAIA softball, but it's good competition, and it tells us where we're at and where we need to go if that's the ultimate goal, is to get to the final site and to play for a red banner. So I just think it's a great testament to the work you've done. I think it's awesome, and look for it to continue to grow. Not, like I said, not for anybody, but our athletes who deserve that coverage and who deserve a platform where they can compete and show their love and passion for softball. So I think it's awesome. And like I said, and we've talked about, we'll be back. I don't love turf, but we'll continue to play because that's elite competition. It's an elite opportunity. I've said this, a couple of coaches have reached out and asked my opinion on it. And I said, look, I wish I would have had my phone out on Friday when my kids walked into the ballpark for the first time. Well, Saturday morning. I said, because they walked in and they had this deer in the headlights look, like, holy crap. This is like, for some of my returners, they're like, man, it feels like we're back at the World Series. And for some of those freshmen and newcomers, they're like, whoa, this is big time. And that's what you want to give student athletes, is the feeling that they're competing for something really special and really important and really big. And I felt like that was absolutely accomplished, and I've said that to several of the coaches who I'm hopeful will be back out there next year. Because I think there's a couple, I can think of 5 or 6 teams that I'm like, you guys got to get out there. Like, you don't have to love the weather in February. You don't have to love everything. But if we're doing this for the right reasons, which is our student athletes, and you are an elite program, you should be there and you should be competing, and you should put your team in those situations, because that's what we're all doing this for.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate that testament right there that you just gave, and the main thing that you said, that's our goal. It's grow the game, and grow the game for the athletes. It's who we're doing it for, and having that experience in Shawnee, was it something for us to really start to build a both financial and viable foothold within AISB yes, but it was also to display what this league has to offer. And when we have the science and arts taking on the Oregon Techs and the Southern Oregons taking on the Cumberlands in February, and this past year is 21 teams. We're upping that to 28 teams as Fire Lakes expanded their facilities and ball fields there for 2026. We have other things that we can't really talk about on air yet, but to make sure it's an enhanced experience, not only for the teams there, but for the fans back home, for them to be able to keep up with it better in 2026. And I'm super excited for it. I think it was, yeah, I would say a success, sure, but definitely at the very least a great starting point for what we want the Invitational to become, which you are absolutely right. I love the fact we have 6 of the 10 teams in the World Series. I kind of started looking at, I was like, all right, Cumberland has only got to win one today. Southern Oregon's got to win one, no matter what happens with Midland Oregon Tech and whatever happens with Oklahoma City MoBap. We're going to get to that number, which is awesome. But next year, I'd like to have 8. I'd like to have 9. Let's keep it going and make it really have that feel of the World Series in February before teams go and start conference play. But Coach, one last question for you. Simple. What will it take for Cumberland softball? What do they have to do in Columbus this week to bring that red banner north to Columbus, which I think for all teams, obviously that's the goal. But I look at your team, I look at how many seniors you got and how it would just cap off so many great careers if they were able to do that.
Yeah, I mean it would. It's pretty simple. I feel like we have to score more runs than the other team, and I said this a little bit earlier. It's just about playing, being the greatest version of ourselves. I mean, I feel like, and all 9 other coaches that you're going to talk to are going to feel this way. That's our job.
Yep.
I feel like I have one of the best teams in the country, and I feel like if we show up as our greatest self, if we show up and do the things that have put us in a position to be back at the World Series, then I like our chances as much as anyone. It's just a matter of having a great approach at the plate. We always say hit strikes and take balls for our pitchers. They've got to fill the zone up and make competitive pitches. And then, the one thing that we're always going to rely really heavily on is our defense. We're super athletic defensively. So if we can and I remember saying this to our kids in February, like we were in that, whatever we want to call it, and we would put 2 of the 3 phases of the game together and we'd forget to do one. And I think over the last couple months, we've become really, really good at all 3 phases. We've pitched it well, we've hit it well, and we've played extremely good defense, so are we able to go down on the biggest stage in the biggest moments, and do all 3 phases really well? And if we do those things really well, I mean, I like our chances as much as anybody. And I feel like that gives us the best opportunity.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Safe travels to Columbus. Look forward to see you. Sure to see you before first pitch for y'all on Friday. But again, safe travels. Appreciate you, Coach. Going to kick it over now to Georgia Gwinnett head coach Kat Ihlenburg. Okay, now we welcome on the head coach of the Georgia Gwinnett Grizzlies, Coach Kat Ihlenburg. Coach, congratulations on making it to your 3rd straight World Series, 5th in program history. Coach, just start off with the opening statement and how the Grizzlies were able to book their trip back to Columbus.
Sure, I appreciate that. Appreciate you having us on and supporting NAIA softball throughout the season. We just, we set goals at the beginning of the season, so it's nice to have a team that's composed and really just understands the standard of our program. We put our heads down and we get to work and we just make it about the Grizzlies, and everything we do is trying to be a reflection of the green and gray.
We all done a great job of that, especially my 3rd World Series with NAISB, 3rd World Series. The Grizzlies are there, obviously bringing a lot of experience back to Columbus. How valuable is that for your group heading into the 2025 World Series?
Yeah, I live a life mantra. You can't buy experience. You can buy a lot of things in this world, but time is the only thing that you can't just buy. So we just take pride in the fact that we have a system in place. It was implemented in 2012 with our very first program, and it's just been that slow journey of trying to stay consistent with it. So the experience is built really on the shoulders of the women before us, and we're grateful for them and we celebrate with them. But it's also gratifying to see this team take their time and do the things they need to be where they are today.
Well, Coach, after splitting with Cumberland of Tennessee and dropping a doubleheader against Middle Georgia State, your squad has rattled off 19 in a row en route to Columbus. What do you contribute this run to, and how important is it for Georgia Gwinnett to continue playing their best softball this time of the year?
Yeah, I think we just really understood to play where our feet are. And I think that is a really important lesson. You see it in all softball right now. It's so exciting for softball as a sport to see it on TV and on the internet, and you just can find it everywhere right now. And you can learn so much that it's about playing the game and play the game, not the moment. And so we practice the things that maybe cost us a win here and there, and we practice the things that helped us win here and there. So as long as we can stay where our feet are and consistent and understand that the game is the game and the ball's going to go funny places, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it a lot. And I think that's one of the things that we've done really well this season. It's just a fun group. There's a lot of energy in it, and it's fun to be with them every day.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a great group. I've had the privilege of covering the last few years, and wanting to represent the state of Georgia well. Obviously, your pitching coach, Coach Razy, her alma mater, just punched a ticket in pretty thrilling fashion
Yep.
yesterday. We all became Liberty Flame fans with what they did
Right.
with Texas A&M. But talking
Yeah.
about your pitching coach, Coach Razy, and the staff that she has built up this season. Annalise Jarvis, Kalen James, arguably the best 1-2 punch in NAIA softball. How are they able to complement each other and what their roles are going to be in the World Series this year?
It's again, it's the same mantra with the team. It's just do your job. It's play to their strengths. And so when you think about Annalise and how she throws, it's a true 180 from KJ and how she throws. And so it's teaching the team that each pitcher is going to have different balls hit and play well behind them. And so I think their success as pitchers is a direct attribute to our defense. Our defense has really enjoyed playing behind them this season. And so when you look at what the different people in our lineup have done, it's play the ball really well. And it's been fun to enjoy letting practice show up in games. I say that all the time. We love when practice shows up in games. And so we practice the things that you see on the Grizzly Digital Network, and it's not an accident that it happens.
I'm glad you threw in the GD in there. Matt Mahoney does a phenomenal job. Yes, I did. Dale Long, great overall athletic department and sports information department there in Lawrenceville. Coach, just looking at your lineup, certainly the addition of Savannah Jenkins has added some nice power to your lineup. Can you speak to her contributions and what you're going to be looking for 1 through 9 this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, Savannah's just been one of those emergers, and I really speak to that every season when we have our first meetings in August and we work through our practices in the fall, that you can't take what's happening today as the final result. And so she's been a build up all season long. She enjoyed coming into games and just having that one at bat, and then she just was consistent with that. So of course, it gives her opportunities to play in more games. So she's just a nice addition to the lineup, and I'm still willing to move my lineup 1 through 9. I don't take pride in having to change it all the time because I think that's also inconsistent. But you don't want people to settle in and think, well, I'm here and I have to do this. So Savannah's been another one of those teammates. She's been up and down in the 9. She's been in and out of the lineup, and she'll continue to have that role going into this week and what we get to play.
Well, Coach, looking at it, looking to bring a red banner to Lawrenceville, Georgia. What are the key factors for Georgia Gwinnett softball being able to accomplish that when it comes to on May 29th?
I just think we need to continue to play to our standard, and our standard is ours. And I respect our opponents. I always do. I really enjoy the interactions I get to have with everybody who I play against, and I don't worry about what they do in their dugout. I think you've watched St. Thomas a few times, and they're an exceptional hitting team. And so I was excited to be able to tell our team, listen, this is a team we've never faced. 13 years, they're 10 hours away by bus. I've never faced them. So it was thrilling to get to play a team like that. And we played the way that we play, and that's all there is to it. Played hard, played tough, and just got the job done. So hopefully we continue to play Grizzly softball and only worry about that.
Yeah, it was great seeing St. Thomas up there. A different Sun Conference team you've got in Coastal Georgia, Southeastern a
Yeah,
couple of times, but a new team in St. Thomas. Coach JC doing a good job with that
amazing.
program there. But Coach, thank you so much for your time. Look forward to seeing you in Columbus. We'll kick it over now to Southern Oregon head coach Jessica Pistole. Okay, we now welcome on a very special guest next up on the World Series interviews with coaches at Southern Oregon's head coach, Coach Jessica Pistole. Coach, how we doing up in Ashland? Congratulations on winning the regional, and just leave it to you now for an opening statement.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. We're doing well. Enjoyed a day off after our game, and then yeah, back at it today, getting ready to go tomorrow, and we'll fly out Monday.
I think certainly a well-deserved day off. Y'all come out of the regional, we deem the region of speed with all the stolen bases and fast runners in that Ashland regional. But Southern Oregon is now in its seventh NAI Softball World Series in the last 8 years. Can you speak on how you've been able to build this successful culture and how this year's team has continued that legacy?
It is funny because it's, I think back on all of the last, well, honestly, the last 10 seasons that I've had here, and they're all super different. And so I actually felt pretty emotional after uh we punched our ticket on Thursday, and people like, what? Like, of course you guys are going. And I'm like, no, like, you don't actually understand. Like, it's not a guarantee at all. It takes everything you have, and it's it's just hard. It's flat out hard every year. And so yeah, I just feel really proud of this group, and just showing up and executing the, small parts of the game, but just loving on each other, playing for each other, doing all the things that you hope kind of begin to click right about now. And, we've weathered some, yeah, I think some challenges, and we've had a really good, strong schedule and feel very prepared for, as we usually do, for opening round, and feel, like this is kind of what it's all for, is to be able to like try to have it come together all at the time when, your season's on the line. So I'm stoked for this group to get to experience that, and it is absolutely not a given and not anything that I take for granted ever. So just really proud of this group for coming out and getting it done.
I was actually talking with somebody the other day, Jack Cruiser, who broadcasted the last couple of World Series. And I was like, you look at the Southern Oregon team from 22, which was our first time as an organization of the World Series, and it was home run, home run, home run, so many home runs. You look at this one, it's speed, 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 and it is impressive that, like I said, 7 and 8 years, obviously a great accomplishment. But like you mentioned, it's not guaranteed. This is my first World Series I've ever gone to, being my fourth two with NAISB and one with Sun Conference coverage without a USAO, without a Oregon Tech. First one since my first time being there without Olu. It's not a guaranteed thing. And you mentioned your schedule being very difficult. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, just starting with the Cascade Collegiate Conference, it is the pinnacle of NAI softball conferences, in my opinion. And yet another year, something that's been consistent for me is multiple teams from the Cascade or in Columbus. What sets the conference apart as this elite conference, and how does conference play prepare teams like your own for the challenges of regional softball and making the NAI World Series?
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't know what it's like in any other conference, so I can only speak to ours, and just what the challenges are. And I mean, it's good competitive softball. We know we have a target on our back every year. We start that year that way, and so we're gonna get everybody's best game. And I think at this point, it's beginning to be like everybody's gonna get everybody's best game, or at least we're trying for that. So. I think the way it all shook out is kind of speaks for itself in terms of, the competitive nature of all of the teams in the conference. So, I mean, yeah, like top to bottom, it's anybody on any given day. And it's, about obviously putting together a, consistent performance, in the long haul, to be able to try to get the wins to position, yourself to win a conference, hopefully win a conference championship. But at the end of the day, or a conference tournament championship, but at the end of the day, just it being prepared for whoever gets sent or wherever we get sent, and the teams that we're going to face across the country. So it's just a dogfight. You covered it. I mean, it's speed, it's power, it's pitching. I think this year we faced a lot of just really strong pitching, and our conference, just, yeah, every team had, at least one strong pitcher. And so just having to play a team 4 times in a row in 2 days is a lot. So, there's no secrets at that point in time. And it just becomes, the game starting back at 0-0, and you got to find a way to push them across and keep the other team at, minimum if possible. So I mean, it's the game, but I just think all of our teams just continue to get better and better. So it just makes it, yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of great competition, but nothing short of very challenging.
I grew up in SEC football country, and when I got up to the Cascade tournament last year, obviously knew it was a really good conference, but I got around that environment. I got to see teams like British Columbia for the first time. That was my first time seeing Eastern Oregon in person, College of Idaho, and you look at Carroll, who I think is going to have a phenomenal year in the Frontier Conference last year, and I kind of uh, made the comparison. This is like the SEC of NAI softball, and it not only that, but you look at the environment when you have it's 40 something degrees outside. My southern self wouldn't be out there in that weather, but you have 400 or 500 people out there watching Southern Oregon Tech conference tournament in Klamath Falls. I think that speaks to how big NAI softball is in the Cascade and in the state of Oregon. But Coach, also looking at your schedule, the Raiders are one of 6 programs in Columbus that competed in the NAISB Invitational in Shawnee earlier this year. How did that earlier competition help your team this year en route to Columbus?
Well, I mean, it's definitely the reason why we chose to come out. It's like you want your teams to face the best competition early on out of the gate. A lot happens from those preseason games to where we are right now, but it's 100%, you get to see where you're at that point, and you're exposed in ways you can see where you match up without having the longevity of a year and a lot of that's to kind of settle things out, or just a lot of games to be able to see how things shake out. We know we're not going to be the same team as when we started, but hopefully we've grown. Hopefully we've learned, hopefully we, are closer and tighter than we started out. And so, I mean, it always helps to play really good competition, in my opinion. I've always preached that, even when I'm starting out in a program and we might get crushed, but you gotta play who you're trying to beat, and you have to be able to play against the competition that you're ultimately, trying to set the standard for.
Well, Coach, one of my big takeaways of Shawnee was one being very impressed with your team and your overall team speed, but also got to see the freshman phenom Ayla Davies for the first time, who's had a phenomenal freshman year with 241 strikeouts and 236 innings, and she enters Columbus with a 1.19 ERA. Can you talk about how she's been able to have success this level in her first year of college softball?
Yeah, I mean, Ayla's just herself. And I think she just doesn't try to do too much. She, stays pretty composed, whether, the other teams are getting a hit, the umpire's tight, something's happening behind her, or we're not scoring runs. And so that to me feels like one of the biggest, just, yeah, like qualities that Ayla brings. And so she doesn't obviously play like a freshman in that way. Um, yeah, I mean, she just does her thing, and has fun, keeps it light, doesn't dwell too long on things, doesn't think too much about things, at least, not that it seems. And in all our conversations, she has like a good way of learning from stuff and then just moving on. And I think you have to have that to be a strong competitor. And like, this is a game of failure in all sorts of ways. And so for her to just, try to get a little bit better every week and learn from the things that, and the teams that we're facing, the hitters that we're facing, shoot. I mean, obviously having to play C of I in our opening round. I mean, if we'd played them in our championship game, that would have been the 7th time that we faced them, and 7th and or 8th. So it's like, I mean, there's not secrets. So you have to find ways to just compete within the game and stay present. And I think she does a good job staying present. So she's kind of well beyond her years as far as I'm concerned, in terms of just the mental piece. And yeah, just obviously love having her and love coaching her, but she's, yeah, she's special in that way.
It's funny you mentioned that you could have faced C of I for a seventh, potentially eighth times. If you look quickly down the bracket, if y'all pick up a win and Eastern Oregon picks up a couple of wins, what will that be? The sixth time Eastern Oregon and Southern Oregon have squared off this year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like
I
that.
mean, but again, I think that's what being able to compete against good competition in conference, it's like, there's a good chance it's not going to be the last time you play them. You're not defined by one game, you learn things, you have, yeah, I think just the ability to learn from all of the games up to this point is so big, and to also just find that joy and playing together and just really competing to get one more day together. And that's where we're at. So it's kind of like, can't think too much. You just prepare how you prepare, and then just kind of let things happen.
We'll go straight into some senior leadership for you. Someone you moved to the bottom of the lineup and had a phenomenal success in the opening round. Faith Moultrie batted .550 with 6 RBIs, 4 stolen bases. Tell us about the role she's played for you in the lineup, and as well as a leader off the field for Raider softball.
I mean, yeah, Faith, we've had her in probably almost every position in the lineup. She led off for us last year. She was in the 3 spot earlier in the year. She's hit in the 4 spot over the course of her 4 years. She's 8, she's 9, she's 7. And I mean, she just brings her, and I know that's similar to what I said about Ayla, but I mean, they're just a little bit of a wild card, and there's just like, Faith is rogue a little bit, and I can't really predict it. She can't really predict it sometimes. And so it's just the way she competes and just her passion for the game is just fun to watch, when she's in the box, when she's on the bases, and she's played that kind of role for us for, the last few years for sure. And she's just, like everybody else, all in, and, just brings good energy, and at this point, just leaving it on the field. And she did that in this opening round.
Certainly did. I'm sure she'll do it again in Columbus this year. Familiar spot for her. But Coach, what are the key factors for Southern Oregon to capturing that 4th Red Banner and their 3rd in the last 5 years?
I think just doing us, like I just keeping it simple, keeping it loose, being able to play the game, not make moments bigger than they are, and just have the ability to reset if things, don't go our way for a minute. That doesn't have to turn into multiple, doesn't have to, yeah, and just learning from those things. But I just being us, and embracing that and playing for each other.
Coach, Southern Oregon is going to play for each other. Have a great time in Columbus. Best of luck on the Red Banner run, and yeah, safe travels out here, Coach.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you again, Reagan.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'll kick it over to Oklahoma City coach Phil McSpadden. Okay, welcome on special guest now is head coach of the Oklahoma City Stars, Coach Phil McSpadden. Coach, congratulations on making it back to Columbus for the 2025 NAIA Softball World Series. Just turn it over to you just for an opening statement about your team after y'all had to do it the hard way, beating Missouri Baptist twice, punching your ticket out of the Oklahoma City Regional into Columbus, Georgia.
Reagan, it's good to be back. We're excited about getting another opportunity to visit Columbus, Georgia, and maybe make a little more noise than we made last year. You're right. Had a very tough go of it, even though it was at home against Missouri Baptist. Very talented ball club. A lot of people probably don't know a lot about them. It's not necessarily a name program yet, but they're going to be. Boy, I don't remember having a tougher opponent in one of our home opening rounds through the years.
Well, Coach, definitely wanting to make a little bit deeper run. You talk about making some noise. You have certainly made some noise with the bats this year as Oklahoma City enters Columbus with the most explosive offense in the NAIA. You lead the country with 76 home runs and a .614 slugging percentage. And of the 10 teams in the World Series, you have a tournament best .369 batting average. What do you attribute this offensive dominance to, and what's been the driving force behind your lineup's consistency and power throughout the season?
When you come into our ballpark and watch us play, everybody swings the same way except the ones that can hit. So she leaves the good ones alone and then does the right amount of tweaking on the others. Motivation, we had never gone 2 and out at the tournament. And we graduated 16 years off last year's ball club, and every one of our starters this year was on our ball club last year. Maybe not all of them started. So developed into the program. We have 2 starters that returned that are making a difference for us. I mean, started 2 years ago and had season-ending injuries. They weren't playing with us last year. We didn't have redshirted before the season started because they hadn't recovered. But Bobby's done a real good job. The girls have been conscientious about hopefully not having a 2 and out ever again. They take pride in what we do, and I appreciate that probably more so from this group than others, because I don't think necessarily it's the most talented team we've ever had, but they're a hard-working bunch. Never have had a kid show up late to practice. They're not ever asking how long are we going to go today, or how much longer practice is going to be. You don't get any of that. They do a lot of hitting on their own. They share and exchange ideas. They're always talking to one another in the dugout. We've got a clipboard we put in the dugout. We're always trying to make comments on one at bat or the other, and everybody reads those, pays attention to maybe if there's any kind of tendency, what this girl's drawing or what the umpire's calling, or they hold us responsible for, and what she did at her end bat to make a change from this one to the next one. Like I said, very intelligent young ladies, very conscientious. They want to get better. So we're excited about working with young ladies like that.
Yeah, it's got to be great working with the group, very self-motivated. You talk about nobody showing up late or anything, or asking when it's going to be open, just or when it's going to be over, just wanting to put in the work to get to the end goal, which is get redemption from last year. As you mentioned, all of the players on this 25 roster were a part of that World Series last year, but headlining your roster and that explosive offense we were just talking about is your junior shortstop, Annalise Rayburn. She leads 2/3 of the Triple Crown categories entering Columbus with 25 home runs and 92 RBIs. Coach, we call those ribeye steaks. You could have a heck of a feast with 92 steaks. Talk to us about how she's taken her game to another level this year.
Well, I don't know if he's even taking it to another level. He was a freshman All-American. He thinks he's a junior. He's a junior academically. 4.0 student. She'll graduate next December, going to grad school. He wants to stay for 4 years and play. We redshirted her last year. She had we were doing conditioning in the off season last year, if you want to call them ladder lines, whatever, in the gym. I mean, this was in December. It dislocates the kneecap. Had to have surgery with screws and everything. We sat her last year. Just sophomore eligibility line.
Right.
But like I said, she was a freshman All-American. Came out of high school. We were lucky to get her. One of those kids that wanted to stay close to home and has a boyfriend that fiance actually plays football over at UCO across town. So there was reason for her to stay. Parents are very active in watching her play. And she's streaky. She gets on a tear and she can have some bad ball games. But the one thing about AJ, she's very conscientious about, if she has a bad game, she's working on it. He's going to stay after the ball game or after practice. He's going to go over to the building, hit off the team, do teamwork, somebody to throw to her. She doesn't deal with failure well. I don't know if that always sounds bad. Probably the way I worded it. She's going to do something about it. It's not going to be, oh, that's a fluke. It won't happen again. Tomorrow will be a better day. He's going to address it. But she's just a very intelligent young lady and a hard worker. And that's a God-given gift. She can hit the ball 300 feet. I know that's exaggeration. With her, it's not. Ball just flows off her bat.
Well, I'm excited just to see her and the rest of your team in a rematch in Shawnee, a little 21-13 game y'all had with Central Methodist. I was talking about that one with Coach Reardon earlier. Coach, can you just talk to me about that game? Obviously against Central Methodist, a good World Series experience, but you and the Central Methodist program are 2 of 6 teams that were in Shawnee that are in Columbus. How did that experience early in the season help y'all kind of define what the season would look like and help y'all in the postseason to get to Columbus?
Well, we just don't have anything. Even years ago, we went to the leadoff classic. We haven't ever tried to get to them since. They're never convenient for us over our spring break. We can't afford to fly during the regular season, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that tournament was even better than most leadoff classes of the ones in recent years anyway. And I'm not trying to put them in a bad light. That seems to be turning more and more of a regional affair. We were getting people from all across the country. And it opened your eyes to what somebody had that you're missing or what you can address. The speed team we might run into down the road. We got to get stronger in that area. It's a little deceiving on those scores because we don't play on turf. Some people do. So turf games early in the year, sometimes there's some mistakes that you wouldn't have on natural grass. 200-foot fences. Ball was leaving the yard, probably on some stuff that wouldn't have in a normal size ballpark. And obviously, you want to believe that your pitching is game ready come February, but obviously it wasn't in that one. So it'll be a completely different ball game. I'm expecting. I mean, I'd love. I'm an old baseball guy. I love those kind of scores, those kind of ball games. They don't happen very often, and there's a reason. It probably will change time around, but Pat does a great job, and his kids swing it well, and I like to think ours can swing it well. We'll see who comes out on top.
Well, Coach, it was fun watching that game when all got said and done. Me with the football background, like it's a great football game. But yeah, have y'all open it up, or excuse me, to finish off day one there at the 7 o'clock Eastern start time. I'm hoping y'all get to have a little bit of a repeat in that one and at least see those home run lights at South Commons get going. But because like you said, you want to have your pitching be at its best this time of the year. Looking at your main duo, Emerson Heron and Brinley Alsip, they performed really well in the circle, especially here in the postseason. Can you just talk to us about how they complement each other in the circle and what you're going to need for them to make it an even dozen red banners at Oklahoma City?
Well, we're just going to focus on one game at a time. That's kind of a stupid coach's expression, but it's true. I'm not even thinking about banners. I'm just trying to figure out a way to get my Central Methodist again. Emerson was our 1A pitcher a year ago. Really didn't get to throw that much. We had two kids that were complementing each other and were very successful in the circle. And they were still the first and second games of doubleheaders last year with Brinley just getting mop-up duty. Brinley has worked hard. She's in her third year at OCU. We did redshirt her sophomore as well, but worked hard to get up to the right level. She's not a power pitcher, but she's got decent velocity. She works right around 59, 60, then gets 61. Has a little bit more zip than Emerson. Emerson is just a finesse pitcher like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I'm a baseball guy, so anybody out there knows Greg Maddox is. That's our version of Emerson Heron. She's going to change speed. She's going to make strikes just like balls. Balls look like strikes. I'm going to throw a changeup of a changeup and move the ball around as best I can. I can't throw the ball by anybody, but I can sure frustrate you. And then Brentley comes in and throws a little bit straighter ball, throws a little bit harder ball, but can gain speed as well. So they do complement each other well, and they've done a real good job of not really. They're making our defense work. I mean, they're not going to get a lot of Ks, but they're going to put the ball in play and not get hurt by themselves, or not hurt themselves doing things stupid. Although Brentley did give up a run the other night on a fielding error in that 5-3 loss to Missouri Baptist. Should have been a 4-3. Nothing so routine that he was embarrassed about it. Threw the ball away on ball hit back to her. But that being said, they both take pride in what they do and don't try to do anything more than what the game allows. Either one of them are going to say, everybody in the ballpark knows I'm going to throw a fastball, I'm going to throw it by you. That's not who they are. They're going to try to fool you with what they do. And like I said, one of them throws a little bit harder than the other one, and one of them changes speeds a little bit better than the other one. So they do a good job of being 1 and 2.
Oh, I really like the reference there with Emerson and Greg Maddux. They kind of click in my head. Yeah, I mean, she is a finesse pitcher. I've got seen her throw a couple of times between Columbus last year and Shawnee this year. And I'm not in my office back in Florida with all my Atlanta Braves stuff going back. But if there was kind of a span where I could go back to my pre being here on Earth days, it would definitely be in the 90s to go back and watch old Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine, Telescope catch a Friday, Saturday, Sunday with those three on the mound.
Absolutely. That's the age.
Well, Coach, I got one more question for you, but I want you had the opportunity to give a little shout out real quick. I know you're sitting there with your right hand girl, right?
Absolutely. I'm driving down the road. That's why I can't be on the Zoom call right now. That's on me. But transporting my best friend and the most important female in my life at this point. And all due respect to daughters-in-law, granddaughters, et cetera, et cetera. But my dog Peasy is with me on this drive.
Well, Peasy, just tell Peasy, said hey on behalf of the whole staff of NAISB, and appreciate her just letting you have a few minutes to talk today. And Peasy, you told me before we wanted to go into the full story, everything, but she came to you kind of in the dugout. Now she's pretty well known there in the Sooner Athletic Conference.
I believe she is. I mean, anybody that plays at Ann Lacy Stadium knows there's a dog that runs out on the field after the game's over with and participates in our post-game prayer. Obviously, she's calming me down between every half inning as I walk back down the dugout to get a drink. But yes, she walked up to the ballpark in 2018 and couldn't find her a home, and God bless me with couldn't find her a home.
Well,
found one with me.
Certainly, as a home, that's right, as your transporter now. But, Coach, last question for you. Just talk to us what the key factors are going to be that will determine your squad's success in the World Series this year.
Well, I think anybody can say the same thing. If you throw strikes, throw quality strikes, you make the routine plays, maybe you throw in an exceptional play here and there, crucial at bats. You know, our expression is always get them on, get them over, and get them in. Can you do that? There's no secret to this game, really. Who plays clean and who plays well and who comes up with timely hits. I think it's going to be a very interesting tournament because, with all due respect to the top seed, I think anybody can win this thing because that's what the nature of NAI softball is kind of turned into. There's a whole lot of teams out there that could be in Columbus and aren't. Maybe there's some teams in Columbus that shouldn't be there and are because it's so even anymore. So are we all playing at the highest level or as best we can play? If we can do that, maybe there's a team out there that's just better. Probably just going to be the team that's playing the best. I think it's going to be an interesting week.
Absolutely. It's going to be a really fun week. We can't wait to get there, get to Columbus. Coach, appreciate you for your time. We're going to kick it over now to our next interview. It's with Central Methodist coach Pat Reardon. Okay, we now welcome on special guest. It is the head coach of Central Methodist Eagles, Coach Pat Reardon. Coach, just first off, congratulations on getting to 1,000 wins earlier this year. Just leave it to you for an opening statement as y'all are finishing up practice, everything around some weather, and get ready to head to Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate being on here. I appreciate all you do for NAI softball, and it's been great having the coverage. We ran into a little weather today, so I'm doing this in my car, trying to balance a few things, getting ready to take off for Columbus tomorrow morning. So girls are excited. Like I said, at this point, if we're not ready now, we're probably not going to be ready. So we just kind of went through a few things, got the pitchers loosened up, get cramped up again on the bus ride, and then we'll stretch it out again on Wednesday and go against Oklahoma City on Thursday.
Going to be a fun one, a rematch there with Oklahoma City. Coach, your squad bounced back after going 1-2 in the Heart of America tournament. You're the 2 seed in your backyard, a very competitive regional. We deemed it kind of the region of firepower. Certainly did not disappoint. What adjustments was your squad able to make to have a really strong weekend, get those wins over British Columbia, LSUA, and Tennessee Southern to make it back to Columbus?
I mean, I think this is a very kind of veteran group. Obviously we've got a couple great seniors that lead us, but we've got a really big junior class that's kind of been the heartbeat of this team. And for us at Central, and probably not many places, but to go to the World Series 3 times in a row, every year you've been there has been something that they're used to. And I mean, I told them again today, I said, this 2025 team, this will be the last time that you're with this group, whether it's graduation, whether it's, however it settles out. If we're lucky enough to go again next year, there will be 20 different girls. But the team will be different. And, so I said, enjoy this. Not many people get here in their career. And I think a lot of times we get lost in the, we're going to the World Series, got to do this and that. And you don't enjoy the process, and you don't enjoy the experience of actually being there. No matter what happens, yes, we want to win, but I said, hey, enjoy the time, enjoy what you've accomplished up to this point.
Well, Coach, it is a new team, but you have a lot of experience in the lineup, especially with being there in Columbus the last 2 years, and it's a very formidable 1 through 9 that's highlighted by the 2-time reigning Hart Player of the Year, your first baseman, Elizabeth Palumbo. What does she mean to your lineup? And talk about the overall value of the experience you have coming back into Columbus.
Oh, I think it's going to be huge. I mean, we did lose some valuable pieces last year. Madison White was missed, and a couple, just some different pieces. Haley Ferris obviously got hot for us, so those 2 are hard to replace. And obviously, having talked earlier, this pitching staff was an unknown. So to have the the kind of the calmness of having the juniors and having Liz, and everybody's picked it up. We have a non-traditional leadoff hitter, and I think Joe's had one of the best years silently of anybody. Maddie Roberts hits behind him, and then just kind of, and once we settled on 1 through 7, the lineup's been pretty set, and Daly Garland batting in the 9th spot. She's not your normal 9 hitter. And we've had a lot of coaches that tell us that. And I think she's comfortable there. We're comfortable there with her. It happened last year with Caitlin Kaiser. And, I think sometimes the perception of, oh, they're a 9 hitter, it's an easy out. I don't know that the parents were happy with her hitting 9th, but it was great. And it helped us get what we needed to do. So having that anchor in the 2 spot with Liz, like I said, when we get back to that part of the order, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it could literally be anybody in that kind of 1 through 5 4. You saw Lauren Hill have a huge opening round. She batted over 500, some very big home runs there for her also. But Coach wanted to talk about that pitching staff. Junior Haley Cotter and sophomore Veronica Dirth both bring in sub-2 ERAs into Columbus. How do they complement each other? And just talk about how they've stepped up for you this year.
Yeah, Veronica, I think I don't even know if she had a third of an inning last year's experience. When Haley went, um, it was a 2-horse race from the end of the year all the way through. So I really don't think Ronnie got much pitching. She's a quiet girl, very shy, but goes out every day. Nothing seems to phase her, and she's just gotten better and better throughout the year. And obviously Haley, she had a little more experience, a little unknown coming off her labrum surgery, but I can't say enough good things about both of them. Haley's taken the ball and said, "Hey, I'm your number one now. Let's go do it." Not a big strikeout person, which isn't going to surprise you on the stats, but has a ton of big wins for us, and we're going to ride her, going into this tournament.
Well, Coach, looking at your opening matchup, it is just a phenomenal one. Two historic programs. You have yourself in Central Methodist, and then the 4th seed Oklahoma City and Phil McSpadden. There's a combined 3,050 wins between the two of you. Talk to us about picking up your 1,000th win earlier this year and what it means to be taking the field with a great matchup in Central Methodist and Oklahoma City for the nightcap day 1 Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about Coach McSpadden. He helped me when I first started this. Obviously, we weren't very good when I first, came into this, and he invited us to tournaments. He was always there to listen to me if I needed something. Always had a word for me. He had no, there was no obligation for him to do that. So I have just a ton of respect for Coach McSpadden and his program. Bobby does a great job there. Super excited. We talked to him, back in your tournament in Oklahoma, and had a good chat and caught up a little bit. And I can't say enough about it. I'm not super excited we're playing them from the talent standpoint, but it is good. When I saw that, it kind of brought a smile to my face, and a lot of wins between us. Going back to the 1,000 this year. Again, just kind of means I've been in it a long time, had good people around me. Been fortunate enough to work with my dad, my daughter, my son helps me some. My wife and my mom are always there traveling along. So again, it's a team effort. I keep saying that, but again, longevity has been good from the administration. Great kids, great relationships, and that's kind of what I'm, kind of going on nowadays as I get a little bit older.
Well, Coach, I know you're a football fan, you're a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. Y'all played a little bit of a football game down in Shawnee, 21-13 was the final score of that one. I remember walking around the complex, a lot of the games are getting wrapped up. I'm like, why are we in the 4th inning over there? Oh, okay, that's why. But Central Methodist, along with Oklahoma City, one of 6 teams in Columbus that competed in the inaugural NAISB Invitational in Shawnee. Can you just speak on how that early competition helped y'all as y'all got into the heart of America, which is a very competitive conference, and into the postseason?
Yeah, going into it, it's a little scary, especially early in the year. But that's what we wanted. We've gotten to the point in our program where we want tournaments like that. We've been going to Gulf Shores for several years now and expecting to get top 20 teams down there as well. So we've built our, early season schedule to try to get some of that competition. And, again, I know Coach McSpadden, when I first started saying, why do you play in tournaments, early in the year? And it's hard to get teams to come to your place to play. Now, when I wasn't very good, my phone rang off the hook. But now trying to call people and try to set something up, it's getting a little bit harder. So, you go play and you hope you get some good competition. And, like I said, we got plenty of it down there. Like I said, it wasn't one of our better showings, but I think we did learn from it. And I don't expect it to be 21-13 this game. We both have learned a few things, but we're looking forward to playing them. And again, that early season experience, then going into the heart of America where, every game is tough and we probably should have had a couple more teams in the opening round, but the 3 teams that were there pushed there. 2 of them won. Another one pushed the envelope in their regional. And if you add Mo Bapp into the mix coming in next year, that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun on my end being able to cover the heart of America all year with doing the series of the week, and getting there for the conference tournament was a lot of fun. Really high level softball, and never know what some of those other bubble teams for you, Benedictine or Park, could have done in the opening round. But certainly a strong showing from the three Hart teams. Of course, on day one you'll see Grandview playing Midland, and you're right, Missouri Baptist, who was a game away. They're joining the Heart of America next year. But I will say I don't expect it to be 21-13 either. But I am glad it is Oklahoma City versus CMU. It's like for the nightcap, he's just like, okay, maybe get to see the home run lights a little bit more in this one perhaps. But Coach, just one last question for you. Just want to simply ask, what are the key factors for Central Methodist to get the job done and bring that red banner back to Fayette, Missouri?
It's like anything else. I mean, we've got to find a way to combine both the good pitching and the good offense. We've talked as a coaching staff all year, trying to put together a complete game. And I think we did a little bit closer in the opening round, where we have great defense and, we score runs and we get good pitching. Some of the games we lost this year, we lose 1-0, and then the next game we'll win 12-3 or something like that. So again, just kind of combining all those things, and it's a tough place to do it because these are the 10 best teams left in the country. So, but I think for us, it's just not trying to do too much, doing the little things right that have gotten us here, and just going out and relaxing and playing.
Well, Coach, you bring an experienced group, third time in Columbus, a heck of an achievement, just like you picking up your 1,000th win. Congratulations on that again. Safe travels. I'll see you in Columbus. Now, folks, we'll kick it over to the Marion Knights head coach, Coach Scott Fleming. Okay, we now welcome on the head coach of the Marion Knights, Coach Scott Fleming. Coach, second time in 3 years the Knights have booked their trip to Columbus. Just turn it over to you now for an opening statement as y'all are getting ready to head south.
Yeah, thanks. Obviously, yeah, we're really excited, being down there in 23. We kind of got that taste back. We had gone 4 years in a row and got back there in 23, got a good taste, made a pretty good run. And then obviously a little disappointed last year. We returned a lot, and, we're kind of hoping to get back. And, honestly, we just didn't play well enough. And then, our senior class, they were sophomores then, and, again, got that taste, and I know they wanted to get back. And so that's kind of been, the goal from day one. And they've done a really good job of leading, and our kids have, bought in and competed hard, and, had a pretty good year.
Well, Coach, it's hard to argue that any team in Columbus is playing as good as softball as y'all have played in the postseason. You're on an 8-game win streak with 3 run rule victories against top 12 opponents in the final coaches poll in this postseason run. What's been the main contributors to the Lady Knights playing their best softball in the most crucial time of the year?
Yeah, I just think we've been playing well in all 3 areas. I mean, we've been pitching it well, hitting it well, and fielding it well. Overall it's been a really good year. We played pretty well all year. And I don't know if many people know this. We lost one of our best players about 4 weeks ago, in Abby Madeir, who was a first-team All-American last year, and a 3-year starter, our number three batter, and so we had to kind of adjust a little bit, reorganize some things. And then I will just say every single one of our kids has picked up their play since then, and I think we've come together more here, and so it's been really, really cool to see, and really been neat to watch our kids just respond and raise their level of play, and to kind of make up for her loss.
Yeah, we noticed her not being in the lineup, and it's kind of like, okay, well, how would y'all do in the postseason? But as we have mentioned, y'all have picked up her production. But Coach, looking at the end of the 2024 campaign, how did the returners use that disappointment of last year's opening round, losing 2 games to a really solid Southern Oregon team who y'all will be playing on Thursday, But just talk about how the returners use that as motivation to book Marion's softball another trip to the World Series.
Yeah, it's like I said, I just think it kind of left a bad taste in their mouth at the end of the last year, and obviously we have a lot of respect for Southern Oregon. I mean, my gosh, they've been dominant here the last several years, and so we have a lot of respect for them. And but again, I just think coming back, starting in the fall, it's just really been kind of business from day one. And like I said, our seniors have done an outstanding job of leading, bringing our young kids along. We've had a couple of young kids who've stepped in and played very, very well for us. And so I just think, they've just kind of raised their level all year long. And like I said, I think the big thing is just, leading and really, really helping. I mean, all six of the seniors, they've basically been playing since day one. And, so they've been a big part of our success, a lot of experience. Like I said, they've been to the World Series before, and we finished fourth there in 23. So they played in a lot of big games. And like I said, that was a lot of fun for them. And like I said, I know that was a goal all year long is to get back there.
Okay, so let's talk about one of those seniors. Your pitcher, Olivia Stunkel, has been phenomenal in the circle this year. And you know me, I'm a big pitching guy. I'm looking at that probable pitching matchup. Her, the senior, against the probable freshman of the year in the NAI, Ayla Davies. You look at their combined record is like 60-4 with 400 something strikeouts. If we do get that matchup, it'll be a lot of fun there on day one. But please talk to us about Olivia and her veteran leadership and how she's been able to build a successful career at Marion.
Yeah, well, I mean, man, she stepped in from day one and has been our number one pitcher. I think over her 4 years right now, she's like 98-12 for her career. She's been a 4-time Crossroads League Pitcher of the Year, which, to my knowledge, there's only been one other pitcher that has earned that, and we actually have her, Brina Smith, who's our pitching coach as well, and so she's done a great job. Just kind of working with Liv and helping her and kind of guide her. But again, a lot of the credit goes to Liv. I mean, she obviously was very talented coming in. And she's really grown as a person and as a player. I mean, and what's most important to me is probably more so as a person. I mean, it's just been really great to see her mature and figure things out. I will say too, I think each year she's tried to add a little something to her, to herself, her pitching, and just I think she's learned every year, like, okay, maybe I need to add this and do this, and so again, it's just it's been really fun to see. I mean, she's been been top notch, all year, and again, kind of has put, I would say, put our team on her back and carried. She's been a great mentor to our other pitchers on our staff, and is always kind of the first one to kind of reach out and help them, as well. And so again, I'm just really proud of her, and she's had an outstanding career, and obviously after this year, we're going to miss her, and hopefully we have a few more games with her here.
Absolutely. As you said, 98 career wins. Certainly want to get her over that century mark in Columbus would be pretty cool there. But Coach, looking at your lineup, just want to talk about what has been the best production lineup in the postseason so far, headlined by a sophomore outfielder, Abby Hoffman. Plenty of names we could get into. Lily Went having a phenomenal year too. But looking at Abby Hoffman, she's building off of a breakout freshman campaign. What makes her such a a special player because I've got to see her the last couple of years at Space Coast, and then you look at the stats. It's statistically the definition of a true five-tool player who can get on with contact. She's got the batting average. She has the extra base hits for power, has the stolen bases, and fields at an elite rate, which is like a lot of your team. You come in with almost 98% fielding percentage, which is the top in the World Series. But let's talk about Abby and what role she plays in your lineup.
Yeah, well, man, she's obviously a very talented player. Her high school team, their freshman year, they didn't get to play because of COVID, and so they won the state 2 years in a row, or sophomore, junior, senior year, and then they were state runner-ups her senior year, and she played with Keegan Rothrock, who's at Florida now. And so it was a really, really good high school team. In my opinion, she was, I'm not sure. I would say I'm biased. I would say she was probably the best player other than Keegan, but she made that team, she made that team go. Again, she's very talented. But man, she plays with just a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of competitiveness, a lot of toughness, and I think it just kind of feeds on everybody else. We didn't start her in the leadoff spot until later on in the year, and again, we just kind of felt like with her energy and what she can do, that to kind of get us going is kind of why we made that move. And then the other thing is she's just an awesome kid and a great teammate. I mean, like I said, she brings a lot of energy. She's a lot of fun. We joke around a lot, but she's a great teammate, with everybody. I mean, she's always sees the positive in everybody, and is kind of one of the biggest cheerleaders, that we have, she just wants to see all her teammates and everybody do well.
Well, Coach, I didn't know she was teammates with Keegan in high school, but I do have a favor for you and Abby. Ask Abby to text Keegan and tell her, take it easy on my dogs. It's got good old Georgia-Florida matchup in the Super Regionals. Try to see my dogs make it to Oklahoma City. Got a tall task going up against the Gators, but going to be fun there. I know we're obviously here for NAI softball, but last night, Sunday night, was a fun night of see Georgia beat Duke, and obviously all of college softball watched Liberty and Texas A&M. Very fun time of the year for college softball. But Coach, last question for you: what are the key factors for the night staying hot, staying rolling, and bring that red banner back to the Hoosier State?
Yeah, well, I think hopefully we can just keep playing like we have been is kind of the big key. And really, I would say, kind of since Abby's gone out too, I mean, just like practice every day is just really sharp, and it just, kind of business, it's all about business. And so, again, I think, conference tournament in the opening round, again, we had good pitching. We hit the ball well. We scored runs. Our defense was really good. I think we made one error in Iowa, and that was actually in the last inning. And we made some really, really good plays. And so again, I think if we can just continue, in all three areas playing well, and hopefully things can go our way, we'll kind of go from there. We're going to show up and compete and see what happens.
Well, Coach, it's a fun one in the middle of the day on day one, Southern Oregon versus Marion. Going to be a great game there in Columbus, South Commons Complex. Coach, safe travels and good luck. See you on Thursday.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We'll kick it over now to Eastern Oregon's Coach Nichole Christian. Well, next up for our World Series interviews, it is the head coach of Eastern Oregon, Coach Nichole Christian. Coach, just started off with you. Any opening statements after punching your tickets to Columbus?
We're excited. We're catching our breath. We got home 4 in the morning yesterday, so we're just trying to get a couple days relaxed before we turn around and fly out Monday. So we're excited.
Well, Coach, you've certainly got yourself a little tan. I'm sure all your girls have gotten a few shades darker after being down in San Antonio, Texas. A little different weather than up there in La Grande, Oregon, no?
Yeah, for sure. We ended up having to buy box fans, coolers, water, little things to put on our necks. It was crazy. We left them with our hotel, said, here we go. We can't fly with them, but we needed everything possible for that Texas heat.
Well, Coach, Eastern Oregon rides into the World Series with one of the most impressive seven-game win streaks you can have, undefeated in the postseason so far. These include wins against Southern Oregon, Oregon Tech, British Columbia, Our Lady of the Lake twice, and Middle Georgia State as you ended their 27-game winning streak. What is driving your team's peak performance right now, and how do you maintain that momentum heading into Columbus?
I think with this team, it's more of they just want to play for each other. We've really been focusing this year about every game is just another game. We wouldn't be where we're at if we didn't take care of business 1 through 30 games. And Kylie is our leader. No doubt about that. They just love it. Love playing behind her. They're passionate about the game. And just, I don't see it as a 7-0 win streak or whatever. It's just them going out and playing ball and with a chip on their shoulder. I think this whole year we've just been, how is it, kind of kicked in the teeth, I feel like sometimes with the rankings and people just not believing in us. And so the players kind of have taken it upon themselves to be like, all right, this is the only way we know how to fight back is scoreboard and coming out and playing our game. And they're just having fun.
Well, we won't get into it too much in the World Series interview, but folks that have been listening to the podcast this year know I quite agree with you, Will, on that statement with the ratings. But, Coach, the Cascade Collegiate Conference is the pinnacle of NAIA softball conferences, and it's another year with multiple teams from the Cascade heading to Columbus. What sets your conference apart as being an elite conference, and how does conference play prepare teams for the challenges of the regionals and reaching the World Series?
Man, our conference, there's no breaks. I think we recruit really well from the Pacific Northwest. And that goes from all 10 teams in our conference. There's just always a top 1 to 2 pitchers. I mean, every pitcher in our conference this year has prepared us for what we would possibly see at nationals between rise ball pitchers, junk ball pitchers, down pitchers, East and West, you name it. We're playing in a gauntlet of 4 games against top teams in the nation, and you don't get a break. You don't be like, oh, this team's weak. I mean, our 1 through 10, I believe at one point could be at a team in one of these first round games that we play. And, just facing them day out, and then the traveling 8 hours for conference play, 9 hours conference play, buses, vans, we go through it. Our coaches in our conference are amazing. They all want what's best for each other. We know our ultimate goal is to have 4 or 5 teams from our conference at nationals. They continue just to, recruit great athletes, and we're starting to get those D1, D2 kickbacks as well in our conference because we are so successful. And so we're getting those girls reaching out, and the talent wise on all levels for teams are, it's just unmatchable. I feel like it's just been a blessing being in this conference because we come in and we talk about like, hey, this pitcher is similar to this person. We're recruiting. I mean, we're scouting Reinhardt and these teams that are in the final 10, and we're like, okay, she's similar to this person. This was our approach going into this game. And just little things like that. Everybody in our conference has prepared us for who we're about to face. And that's what has been amazing for us as a team. We've already seen it. We have that confidence coming in. And now it's just our execution come game time.
Yeah, you mentioned Reinhardt there. What a great story. The first 5 seed to make it to the NAIA Softball World Series. Got to watch them play some really good softball up in Marion, Indiana. But I was in Klamath Falls last year for the Cascade Conference tournament where I got to watch some really good softball, and I got to see Kylie Parsons for the first time. Coach, Kylie has been on another level this postseason, tossing 44 innings while racking up 36 strikeouts and only allowing 3 earned runs. After an injury scare that almost ended her career earlier this season, how has she been able to turn it around and play her best softball in the most important stages of the season?
Man, I think for her, it was, I mean, obviously the scare. Everybody, wanted like what just happened. Parsons isn't pitching. It was just one of those things where it was, an injury and unexpected outcome, and we were able to bounce back that next weekend with her, excuse me. But just enjoying the moment. I mean, it's not often you can just see the team that loves each other. And I don't know. I mean, until you're around our team and you can sit back and watch, they're just a team that you want to root for, and cheer for. And Kylie is just that teammate that she's unselfish. She doesn't like interviews. Like she just gets quiet and shy. And like we were at dinner and I think it was Sunday night when we got into Texas and we were on the river walk and I was like, hey, she stood up. I go, oh, you're making a toast. And she just turns bright red, like sits down. I'm like, I'm just, like we just love joking with her because she's so quiet. She's just she steps on that mound and she's like beast mode. I don't know how to explain it. The girls want to succeed for her. I think it was the 8th inning at Olu. We already went the extra innings. We don't want to go game 4. I mean the extra game 2 the next day. And I can't remember, maybe it was Reagan. She's like, we got to do this for Kylie. We got to get her off the mound, and then they came up clutch with that big bomb from Hope. But that's what it's about. They want to do it for each other. The underclassmen want to do it for the seniors. But for Kylie coming in and battling day in and day out, and just coming out on the mound and doing what she does, I don't even know how to explain it. She's just something special.
Well, tell her if she has a performance like she's had over this run, including being out away from a perfect game against Oregon Tech. She better get used to the post game interviews because we're going to come after her for in Columbus.
I'll give her a warning.
Of course, going to want to or have to win those games first, Coach. But let's talk about the game you just won and a player that's been on fire this postseason in your lineup. Outfielder Hope Burke has 3 home runs and 8 RBIs, including the 3-run shot that punched the Mounties' ticket to Columbus. Coach, first of all, just talk about what that moment meant for your program and then go into who else is playing their best softball right now for Eastern Oregon.
I mean, it's I don't know if it's even hit me yet. The last time we were at nationals for Eastern softball was when I played. And so like coming back at the final, and obviously it's different times and it was a little different bracketing where this was our first time for school history to be able to win that region and get that ticket to the next step. And so these girls are just punching and making new waves for future Mounties. And so just like sitting there and be like, oh my gosh, we're going back kind of moment when she hit that shot. And I thought she was going to do it inning 7 when I had a option to bunt her. And I'm like, no, I got to let this girl swing it. And she just missed it. And she got her second opportunity. And so being able to see her just blast that shot off, a ton of emotion. The girls were jacked. They were so excited. She plays with no care. I don't know how else to explain it. She's very chill, relaxed. It doesn't phase her. She strikes out, she runs off laughing, and the next at bat, she just blasts the bomb, and she just has that passion at the plate. Good defensive player as well. She's really just stepped up in key moments, and she doesn't let the big moments get to her. And that's what I think this team's been about. They've been able just to play calm. It's just another game. We've talked about that all year long. We win the innings, we win the small things, celebrate the small things. Our defense has been lights out for Kylie behind her, and I think that helps her to allow her just to go in and throw. If they hit it, we're most likely going to get you out, whether it's in our outfield or on our infield. And so just playing calm and relaxed, kind of like Hope, has been huge for her in that role, stepping up. Gosh, I just look at so many things. I think what's probably most scary, I think, when you think about our team is 1 through 26. I mean, anybody I could put in could come up with a pitch hit, a big defensive play. I mean, you can't walk this person because you've got this person. You can't, like my 9 hitter, Brylan hits her first home run college career, 2-run shot. And so she's our 9 hitter, Hope's sitting in the 7-8 hitter. And you just can't really, there's no one you can overlook. And I think that's what's probably most scary for people looking at us and who's playing well. We've got freshmen starting. We've got Emily Berry's racking up the RBIs. Hannah Tyree is calling lights out game. And I don't know if everybody knows that. She's calling every single game for us behind the plate. Senior leadership, her and Kylie are rolling. It's just, I can't even pinpoint one for you. It's just someone different has always stepped up this year in big moments. And that's what I love about our team.
Yeah, well, not being able to pinpoint one is certainly a good problem to have when you get to this time of the year, being a team that can come up with wins in different ways. And you mentioned Hannah being able to call a game with Kylie, what kind of confidence that has between that pitcher-catcher relationship. Well, Coach, the last question I have for you is, what are the key factors for Eastern Oregon to capture the red banner and bring it on home to La Grande, Oregon?
Continue to have that fight. I think for us, that little chip on our shoulder that no one, again, I think everybody thought we were going to get a little bit. I don't know if everybody knows the seeding when you come out of your bracket pool. It's all different between different sports. And I think a lot of people thought we might be up in that 3 to 5, maybe 5 to 6 seeding. And so just kind of that, hey, keep playing with that chip on our shoulder the only way that we know how to, and play for each other at the end of the day. It's going to be kind of what we've had all year. Our pitching, our hitting at the plate, being disciplined, having game plans going in against the different type of pitchers. What more than to throw pitcher of the year Jarvis at us if we can get to that next game. We've got Reinhardt, who's on absolute fire right now, who just took down the #1 team in the nation. Everybody in that bracket that we're looking at, and SOU with Davies. Our side of the bracket's tough, and so it's just going to be focusing on that moment with Reinhardt first. That's going to be a big one for us, and we go out and play our game. Then what's going to happen will happen, and we talk about just making sure we do those little things and taking care of the first game and not look at the whole picture. And just have fun. Gosh, this team loves to have mounting parties in the dugout. We got props galore, rubber chickens. I don't even know. There's unicorn head, you name it. They've got everything that you could possibly think of that we got to pack an extra baggage fee just for our props. So allowing them to have fun and enjoy the moment. I think that's the biggest thing for us to do this year or this next weekend is, hey, you made it to the last 10. And now we got to finish on that strong note, and what happens, but enjoy the ride and enjoy those small things, and we'll be okay.
Well, I'm excited to see the props that y'all bring to Columbus. Coach, hopefully you bring a nice prop that you can hang up there in the somewhere at Eastern Oregon when it's all said and done. But Coach, thank you so much for your time. Now I'm going to send it over to our next interview with Grandview head coach Lou Yacinich.
Thank you, Reagan.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next up for our World Series coaches interview, we have the head coach of the Grandview Vikings softball program, Coach Lou Yacinich. Coach, just first off, thanks for joining us today, and just any opening statements you'd like to make about your team heading into Columbus.
We're really excited to be there, and we have something for you, Reagan. You ready?
I'm ready. What's up, ladies? Congratulations on the win. Sorry for not picking y'all. I should have known better.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
I think they took it personally, actually.
Well, hey, if it worked as motivation, we're very happy to do it, and certainly glad y'all are going to be in Columbus. Y'all been on an incredible run, Coach. You claimed the Heart of America title, a couple of walk-offs, really exciting run there. I would argue it's one of the most competitive tournaments in NAIA softball, the Heart of America Conference tournament. You then parlay that into defeating the top-ranked University of Science and Arts Drovers twice. You win in the winner-take-all game in the regional just after you were y'all lost that game to force the if necessary game. Talk to me about what makes this group so resilient and relentless in the high-stakes moment, why it's led you to Columbus, Georgia.
Well, Reagan, it's all about the players, and you send me the questions and that type of thing that we're talking about today, and I've got players that are going to answer them, and I think it's extremely important that they're able to tell you what their thoughts are. So,
love it, absolutely.
Who's got this question?
Hello.
Hello. Say your name for everybody.
This is Olivia Harmon.
I'm Olivia Harmon. My answer to this was just the fact that our team is really good about staying within ourselves. We focus about more what we're doing versus what the other team's doing. We're very level-headed, and we don't really let what the other team's saying, doing, how they're performing affect what we're doing. We're really good about focusing on what we can do to control the game and control our pace. So that helps us in like the high stakes situations, helps us just to stay very level.
Yeah, y'all definitely keep things even on the field, do a great job playing your own game, and it's definitely led you to Columbus, Georgia. Olivia, not sure if you're going to be answering this question or who will answer it, but your team is one of six NAIA Your team is one of the 6 teams at the NAIA Softball World Series that also competed in the inaugural NAISB Invitational in Shawnee. How did that early season experience against top competition prepare your team for the postseason and the run to the World Series?
Yep, I'm going to pass the phone here.
Olivia Swap.
Olivia Kai's now.
Yeah, so we were really, really excited, to go to Shawnee and see some of these really, really good teams, which definitely helped us a lot prepare for the situation that we're in now, because we're going to see a lot of the same teams. Definitely not some of the results that we wanted out in Oklahoma when we first went. But you got to grow, you got to learn. And I think we took a lot away from it, which is really cool. And now we're ready to see these teams again and, get our revenge, if that's what I could say, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, but I think we're going to do really, really well. And now that we've seen these teams, we know we got the exposure, we're ready to go.
Well, and it sets up kind of a rubber matchup, if you will, with the Midland Warriors. Of course, y'all split in the regular season. I think it was y'all's first or second game of the year. They got y'all, then y'all got them in Shawnee, and now we get the best 2 out of 3 scenario. And who knows, maybe even get to play a 4th time when it's all said and done.
And yeah, they were a fun team to play. Honestly, they're a great group, but so are we. So it should be a great game.
My next question for the Vikings softball team is Sam Holbert. She has been a standout player this postseason, along with other players. But I mean, she's batting .450, has 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. How critical has her performance been to Grandview softball's success this playoff run?
Reese Cooley.
Thank you. She's been just an amazing addition to our team, not only on the field, because we get some home runs from her, but she's just a great person off the field. Everyone loves her on the team, and she generally cares about everyone, trying to help everyone. So she's just getting everyone better, as well as play great on the field.
Well, who else on the team, along with Sam, who's been playing their best softball? Obviously, it's quite a few of y'all for y'all to be one of the last teams playing. But Reese, or whoever you're going to pass the phone to, who's been playing at their peak and catching attention, and who should peak, and who should be who should the fans be paying attention to heading into the NAIA Softball World Series?
I'll pass that to Sam.
Hello, Sam.
Hi. I didn't get this question, but I'll answer.
Okay.
Other people, I think, definitely our pitching staff. Olivia Kais, Olivia Harmon, Nevaeh Randall, Reese Cooley. Honestly, our whole starting 9, I think everyone should just pay attention to, because you never know who's going to pop off that day.
That's what I said after the Heart of America tournament. 1 through 9 is a really strong lineup. Multiple pitchers have been contributing to this postseason run to be in Columbus, Georgia. My last question for Grandview softball: what are the critical elements, both on the field and within the team's culture, that you believe will drive the Vikings to win the Red Banner, bring it home to Des Moines, Iowa?
I'm actually going to give this question to our second baseman, Kylie Miracle.
Hello.
Hello.
So I feel like off the field, our team is just like a family, and like we built such a good culture from the fall until now. I just feel like we have each other's backs no matter what. You can see, like, obviously when we were in the championship game, we lost the first one but came back in the second one. It just shows that we lean on each other and have that level of trust with each other. And like Olivia Harmon said, we try to stay pretty even keel, so I feel like that helps us as well.
Awesome. Well, Grandview softball, I appreciate your time. And is Coach there?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Well,
Reagan.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. That was a fun interview, getting to hear from multiple players that have been integral to this postseason run. I know you're excited to get back to Columbus, where we technically, I guess, first saw each other maybe at the 22 World Series when I was there with covering Weber and Southeastern, and obviously y'all were there, made a run, but you're back. Coach, congratulations. If you have anything you'd want to add on, it's all you. If not, we'll move on to our next interview.
I think our players are why we're here. I'm just along for the ride, making sure I get the bus there, or in this case, the flights, make sure we get those handled. And most importantly, make sure they have meal money so they can make sure they eat and stay hydrated and all that type of thing while we're still playing. It's been outstanding. And they've been great, and that's why we're here.
Awesome. Well,
Don't
Coach,
let him fool you. He's got a lot to do with
it. Well, Coach, it's always an honor to be able to talk to you. Great talking about your program. I was very impressed with you. Got to see you in Shawnee. Got to see you in Cedar Rapids for the Hart tournament. You're playing some great softball. Keep it up, and good luck in your first game. Y'all will be kicking off the NAI World Series against the Midland Warriors.
It'll be an honor, and we're glad to be there. We're going to try to compete well, and thank you again, Reagan, for what you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We'll now move to our next interview with Midland head coach Beth Singleton. Okay, we now welcome on the head coach of my co-host, Coach Beth Singleton of the Midland Warriors. Coach, last time y'all were in Columbus, I took your shortstop as soon as you was done playing after a good run. Now finishing up our second year covering NAI softball. But Coach, turn it over to you just for opening statement after y'all won the Klamath Falls Regional.
Yeah, really proud of Carly and what she does with you guys and your guys' coverage. We're really appreciative of that. So, yeah, we love listening to you guys. Just really proud of the team, right? We did it together as a unit this year. Kind of quieted some people who are maybe questioning whether we'd be back. So, just really proud of the group. It really took everybody.
Well, Coach, like we said, back in Columbus, second time in 3 years after beating Southeastern. It's a tough game. Y'all got to see each other in Florida earlier in the year, and then you beat a really good Oregon Tech team that I got to admit is going to be a little weird. This being my fourth World Series I've covered between Sun Conference and NAI softball, and no Oregon Tech thanks to the Midland Warriors. How were y'all able to pull off this upset, and what did it mean to your program to be back in Columbus second time in 3 years? That's a heck of an accomplishment.
Yeah, it is. I think, as a program, it meant a lot because any school can put together a good team, right? You can have a flash in a pan, you got the right ponies, you can make a run. And I think that's what a lot of people thought, maybe outside of the Midwest area. But to make it this year when a lot of those big names have graduated out, I think just shows that we are a program, that we are more than just one person or one jersey. So really proud of us for that. I think that really reestablishes that we're doing the right things and that the culture is good, and that we'll be contenders, hopefully every year here on out. So really proud of that. It was a really total team effort. That's been our mantra all year. Just that we aren't going to beat people 1-on-9 this year or 2-on-9. We're not going to have a 25 home run kid. We got to beat people 9-on-9. And we really did do that. And we had some unlikely heroes, right? Ari, our 4-year starter center fielder, she goes out that first game with a real freak injury. One of our seniors comes off the bench and hits the 3-run home run to win the game in the first Oregon Tech game. So just really proud of them all for embracing their roles and stepping up.
Yeah, Asia Henderson having that big 3-run home run, actually called I would say probably the biggest Midland softball fan. Jesse called her after I was actually just asking for a picture, and she was obviously very ecstatic just with Midland winning that one. I was like, well, calm down, y'all still got win one more.
A lot of work left. Yes, for sure.
But Coach, I love what you said there, because you do look at that team from a couple of years ago. It was the Carly Fitzers, the Ronnie Foots, the Aaliyah Rincones. You fast forward this year, it's a number of players. It's Izzy Pagan, it's Reese Floro. It's a great 1-2 duo in the circle that we'll talk about here in just a minute. But you're absolutely right. You have a very dangerous and dynamic lineup where anybody 1 through 9 could combine to beat you at any given day. Just talk to us about some names that fans should be keeping an eye on in Columbus. Even going to include the couple like Pagan and Floro that we just mentioned.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it could be anybody any day, but the 4 at the top are the ones we've really leaned on to be the consistency and kind of the lead, like when they go, we go. So you got Reese at the top. She's having another great season and probably even stepped up a little bit from last year, sets the table for us. She's so versatile. She can go power, she can go soft. Just a really, really tough out. And then Maddie Reiling, about mid-season, moved up to the 2. And, she was a great shortstop for us last year, but she really elevated her offensive game this year. She's a really tough out where, she's going to have productive outs. She's going to move runners. She's going to do everything we need. Izzy, in her first full year as a starter, has been phenomenal. I mean, she's just double after double this year. Again, really tough out, going to get barrels to balls. And then Camden Barrientos has been our 4 throughout the year and just provides that little bit of pop. She's a really disciplined hitter for a power hitter. She's not a free swinger. So she walks a lot. She's on base all the time. And then, we just fill in behind them with more consistent positive at-bats.
Well, Coach, turning away from the lineup and looking at a really solid 1-2 punch you have in the circle, senior Peyton Kohler, junior Campbell Petrick. Talk to us about those two, how they complement each other to keep lineups off balance.
Yeah, they're actually really similar. I don't know how complementary they are, just because they are really similar type pitchers. I think they're 2 of the best spinner spotters in the NAIA. They just don't miss. They're going to live on their spots. They're going to spin it away. They're going to work to weak contact and let our defense go to work. And they've both just been really consistent all year, and they're tough to barrel up. They both put it where it's tough to barrel up. Honestly, one of the pieces that has been most helpful this year is we do have a complimentary piece. She's our freshman. We haven't thrown her a ton because those 2 have been so good, but when she has had to come in, Mackenzie's been brought into really tough situations, but she's got the upspin. She can get the strikeout, and she just gives us a little bit of a different look, and that has been really helpful to offset those 2 when they just need a little bit of help getting out of games.
Yes, I remember seeing her against, I want to say Montreat down in the Space Coast, and I was like, she's got herself another young pitcher that might be pretty good. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Petrick, Kohler, 2 veterans. I mean, what a job there in that last game from Peyton against Oregon Tech team. Obviously, Coach Greg Stewart, really solid program he has that you see the pitching go into the 3rd game and able to keep them off balance, and you had really good timely hitting there in Klamath Falls against a team that was in the NAISB Invitational. Your program, Midland, one of 6 teams in Columbus this year that did compete in the inaugural NAISB Invitational this past February. Can you just talk about how that early competition helped you prepare your program prepare for the postseason this year?
Yeah, I think that was huge. I think, as we talked about, our really new team, we have a lot of players that are transfers, some young players, and then some new players that have been in the program but are starters for the first time. And, you can talk about what the top end looks like and where you want to be and what you're going to see at the end of the year, but until you see it, you don't really know. And so I thought that tournament was really good for us, not only to see that top level, but also to, lose 2-1 to Oregon Tech there, to be in those games and, beat obviously a very good Benedictine team. I think that was a good testament to the girls of we are right there and we can reach our goals this year. I think they came out of that really motivated to continue to have a good year.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about bringing up that point of y'all did play Oregon Tech there in Shawnee, and you get a little bit of a rubber matchup. Very opening weekend, y'all beat Grandview, then fell to Grandview in Shawnee. So now it's really for all the marbles for the chance to play number one overall seed Cumberland's on Friday, and of course not be in the elimination bracket on day two, which nobody wants to be in that scenario, of course, but. Coach, last question for you. What are the key factors for Midland softball to continuing this great run, building on it, and bringing a red banner back to Nebraska?
I think for us, it's just continuing to play free. We're playing with house money. We're, doing what we're supposed to, do, and we're just happy to be playing together again. So I think as long as they play free, they're really dangerous. So that's always our goal. Like, there's no pressure on us. We're just here to try to keep building the program. And so I think they understand that. They don't want to have to see the season end, and that's really important to them. So leaning on each other, right, not taking on too much, I think those are the keys for us to win.
But you have a great program. I was impressed seeing you in Florida. Obviously, congratulations on making it to the final 10. And again, a real feather in the cap of your program. Second time in 3 years. Really something to build on there at Midland. Congratulations, Coach. Know you're about halfway to us, hanging out in Illinois right now. So
we are.
Safe travels. I will see you tomorrow. We will now kick it over for our final interview with the NAI Softball World Series coaches, Coach Matthew Wright of the Reinhardt Eagles. Okay, when we wrap up the coaches' interviews with the 10 seed in the World Series, Coach, no problem for y'all being the low seed. Y'all became the first 5 seed to make it out of the opening round into the World Series. I was there. Congratulations. Y'all played some awesome softball. It's great getting to meet you and a very fun team you got. Well, just started off with the opening statement from you after winning the opening round.
Well, Reagan, it was a blessing just to get there and seeing the obstacles and the challenges our teams faced to make it to Indiana. We played some great competition. Hats off to Coach Babs with the IU Wesleyan there. Great coach, great program, great facilities. It was ran great. Everything was great. We enjoyed it, and we enjoyed the sweep even better. So it was pretty awesome to be there.
Well, Coach, you were the regular season champions out of the Appalachian. Y'all fall short in the tournament, end up being 5 seed in what we deem the region of parity. So thank you for the 5 seed winning that and making that take look right. But y'all are soaring into Columbus for the program, first time since 2014 in your first year at the helm. How was your squad able to pick themselves off the mat after the AAC tournament and make history there in Marion, Indiana?
Well, it's when we took regular season, the girls started to believe in themselves and just changing the culture here at Reinhardt, getting these players to know their worth and believe in each other, not just individual players, but this is a team sport, and it takes a team effort to get to where we got, and having these girls understand what rest days are, and to play healthy. We went into conference tournament recovering from injuries. We took some time off, and we were able to go into the national tournament as a healthy team, and the girls played as one, and that's what it took.
It was an all-around team performance, Coach, but just want to look at one name that definitely stood out to me was right there in the circle. Your sophomore, Ansley Pettit, transferred in from Georgia Southern, won AAC Pitcher of the Year, and has been a true ace, looked dominant up in Marion, like I said. How has she been able to lead your staff as an underclassman in your first year?
Well, her being an underclassman, she could be a 5th-year senior for that case, because the kid's mindset, she is 1,000% ball. She's probably the most game-aware pitcher I've ever coached. The kid's got more drive and work ethic than anybody I've ever coached. When other kids are sleeping, she's working. She will definitely have some bright years to come over the next 2 years here at Reinhardt, and just dominance on the mound. She's the kid that wants the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you could definitely tell that from her. It's funny you said that, how dedicated she is just to the sport and to her game. I asked her about a couple of guys that I know about, new on the Georgia Southern baseball team, and she was like, "I really didn't pay attention. I just spent I spent all my time with softball and getting better."
But and she's also the type that she is dedicated to her pitching staff with her. So I mean, she knows the job or the role of our other pitchers, Macy and Taylor. She has nothing but the utmost respect for her pitching staff. All of our pitchers pitch as one, and it's just a very special thing going on at Reinhardt right now.
Well, Coach, looking at your lineup 1 through 9, it was impressive. Whether it was Captain K or Shannon or Taylor Wade, Maddie Wright, there were a number of names that were stepping up in Indiana. But looking at another Sun Belt transfer for you, Ansley Heights, she was the AAC Pitcher of the Year. A little quiet in Indiana. She did have a nice 2-for-3 day against Madonna in that big win. But talk to us about Ansley, the year she's having, how she fits into your lineup, and to speak on how, like I said, anybody in that lineup can contribute, which I got to see live in Marion.
Yep, and there's a kid that's been playing all season. She came in injured. She's still injured. She is DP and only. Got Player of the Year. You won't find a more humble kid. The kid can swing it with the best of them. In Ansley, she put a lot of pressure on herself in the national tournament, but that's when she realized that she don't have to carry the team. That's why we play for a team, and it's not an individual sport. And we had other players on our team, Taylor Wade, Maddie Wright, that just stepped up. Maggie English, Shallon, they stepped up and filled the gaps. And, it's very humbling to see the girls, just them communicating back and forth in the dugout with Ansley, because Ansley, I would put the bat in her hand at any time, any moment on the ball field. She is a phenomenal kid. And just, she's having fun playing ball. That's bottom line. Is the whole team is rocking it and having fun. And she's been a huge key piece to our team's success offensively.
Yeah, like you said, it's a very fun team. I had to learn my lesson the hard way when I'm eating around y'all, to be on the lookout,
Yeah.
not going to get sniped by the
You'll get
pictures.
snapped.
Yeah, but Coach, just want to talk about what went into your decision to making the jump. You've had a great career coaching travel ball. What went into that decision of finally becoming a college coach this past offseason, and what made Reinhardt the right fit?
Well, to be honest, Reagan, I wasn't coaching college ball. I was coaching 3-on-3 6-year-old basketball. My youngest daughter, my softball days were over, and had no plans into coaching college ball. Jeffrey Porche, our old athletic director, called me up trying to get me to get the job. Didn't want to take the job. It just wasn't the right fit for my family or work. And, everything aligned. And to be honest, Reagan, God put me here, and I listened to God, and I'm a firm believer to follow the Lord, and this is where the Lord put me. It's not for the glory, not for the trophies, not for anything, but I came here with a mission to help these girls off the field, not on the field. And, from day one, there's been just great things happening at Reinhardt. When the first kid came to me and said, "Hey, Coach, can we have Bible study?" And then we started doing Bible studies on Wednesday, to seeing these girls, in their self-led Bible study groups, and seeing them testify to each other. That's my wins here at Reinhardt. Seeing these kids academically succeed, seeing grades go from 2.0s to 3.6s, our team GPAs at 3.7. And, these kids are doing it for the right reasons. And, that's why I'm here at Reinhardt coaching softball.
Okay.
They needed a culture shift.
Absolutely. Just from our timeline and covering the NAI softball, third year covering, third new coach at Reinhardt, a lot of turnover, a lot of just culture questions about Reinhardt. And then you come in, you lead your team to the national tournament. Like I said, I got to be around the team. it's a great culture. And you speak about the Bible saying everything, with y'all being the winner out of the Marion Regional. We have to talk about that awesome moment that the kids had on the day before, the evening before competition played, where again, credit Coach Babs, credit Indiana Wesleyan softball, having all the teams, all the players out there on the football field, just to get to know each other and have the large group Bible study. Coach, talk about that moment a little bit for us.
Well, I mean, that moment was humbling for everybody. I think when we walked out of the coaches meeting and, saw the players in the field, Coach Mike's team, Madonna, Rio, all the teams were out there, and that was something that was not forced. That was not something coach led. That was player led. Yes. And I've gotten emails and messages from kids all over the country about that one video that, that went out there and went viral. And it's an amazing moment. On that same evening, while that was going on, my brother-in-law got saved back at home during revival at church. It was just a very special day for me and our team. And, that's what it's about. And that happened prior to the tournament, and there was no winners or losers. They were all playing for a purpose. And, that was just such a humbling experience to see and be a part of.
Absolutely. It was undoubtedly one of my favorite moments I've been a part of in my time covering the league. But Coach, one last question for you. I know you don't have to, it's nice for you. Don't have a ton of travel plans. Just head south a couple hours for you. But what are the key factors that will determine if the Eagles will continue to make history this time in your own backyard in Columbus, Georgia?
Well, we're the underdog. We're the Cinderella story. It's happened before in the past. It could happen again. We've got nothing to lose. We've already gone further than anybody would ever thought we would have went to this year. If our girls are in a great mindset. They're playing loose. They're having fun. And that's what it's about. And we plan to go make a disturbance down in Columbus. So, it's a team effort, and it's going to be a team win when we get there. And hopefully we make some history.
I do look at that matchup. If y'all do beat Eastern Oregon on day one, how about a Friday night game between two Georgia teams in Columbus? I would like to see what the stadium would look like for that matchup.
Well, it was like us going to Indiana, a first game against Coastal Georgia. Coach Mike and his program, great program. And, we traveled to Indiana to play another great Georgia team. We're going to travel to the World Series to play another great Georgia team. And GGC's got a great program, great staff, great coaching staff, and they have a positive culture over there. And it's those type clubs that are advancing, and that's what's great. So looking to play on Saturday night or Friday night. So under the lights,
Friday, Saturday, all the way through past Memorial Day, Coach. But hey, thanks for your time, man. Again, it's great getting to meet you and your program. Looking forward to seeing y'all in Columbus. And ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up our coaches interviews for the 2025 World Series. Next time we see y'all, it'll be doing content there in Columbus, South Commons Complex. And another reminder, we are sponsored by Urban Edge Network for the entire World Series. UrbanEdgeNetwork.net. Watch all of the action, every pitch, every play, UrbanEdgeNetwork.net. And be sure to download their free app. Thanks, and we will see you all in Columbus.